Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. Wednesday, January 10th at 6:30, call to order. Roll call. Everyone is present. Attest to publication.
I saw it posted.
Thank you, Joni. We will approve the agenda. I do want to make note that our agenda is correct. However, the one that is posted has Brian Brewer from Baird talking later, and he will talk right after the student reports, and then we will vote where he was originally posted. Is that correct, Dr. Brockup? Okay.
Correct, yeah, thank you. I just
So-
wanted to let him speak early in the meeting, and then we'll vote on it where it was originally posted in the community.
So I'm looking for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion by Lori, seconded by Tina. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Joni, district mission, vision, and values, and also our Board of Education collective commitment.
Bangor School District mission, vision, and values. Our mission, Bangor Pride, a small school building big futures. Vision, an innovative small school creating excellence through personalized learning and relationships for all. Values, student-centered, safety, opportunities for all, small class sizes, fiscally sustainable, foster community, continuous improvement. Our collective commitments as a member of the Bangor School Board, I will be an active listener who is open-minded, respectful, and inquisitive. Together with one collective voice, we are committed to forward thinking while strategically prioritizing for our students, staff, and community now and into the future.
Thank you, Joni. Public comment? None. Approval of the minutes from December 13th.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Motion made by Joni, seconded by Shelley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Student report, welcome.
All right, we have our awesome student council members back again this month, Ella and Sophie. So girls, go right ahead.
Okay, is it on? Okay, is it on? Okay. Hi. So far, what we've been doing this past month is the 8th grade leadership and NHS ended up raising $1,294.22, ringing bells at Hanson's for the Salvation Army. The boys and girls basketball both placed second in their holiday tournaments. The girls beat Stratford and then lost against CFC, and the boys beat Reedsburg and then lost against Partyville. The girls played at CFC and they stayed overnight at Winona, and the boys played at JAG in the Dells and they didn't stay overnight. And then bi-state wrestling also happened over Christmas break. And then on Saturday, January 6th, there was a softball clinic at the old high school. We welcomed a Division I college softball player who came and worked with the girls, and we appreciate the Booster Club for helping to set that up.
That's awesome.
And then finals they were today and tomorrow for high school students. Semester 1 ends on Friday, and the second semester begins on Tuesday, January 6th. We don't have school Monday, the 15th. And then Friday, January 12th, and Saturday, January 13th, is the Honors Choir in Eau Claire for high school students. It's in Appleton? Okay, it's in Appleton. He told me Eau Claire. And then academic regionals is Friday, January 12th for the high school. And then the elementary word of the month is hard work. Okay.
Odyssey of the Mind has been practicing for their season, and Student Council is selling root beer floats for finals. They were sold some today, and they will be tomorrow during the school day. And then the middle schoolers will be going tubing on Friday, January 12th in the morning at Fort McCoy. And then coming up, the deadlines are approaching on Friday, January 12th for the seniors' yearbook and class composite pictures. Scholarships are beginning to be posted for the seniors. They are posted in the seniors' Google Classrooms. Student Council is still doing their clothing drive, which ends January 23rd. And then lastly, the Booster Club will have their fun night on Saturday, February 3rd.
Thank you, Ella and Sophie. I know you're busy young ladies, so thank you for coming. And for all of the information that you shared as well. All right, Mr. Brian Brewer. David, you want to preempt a little?
Yeah, as everybody knows, we decided the best solution for getting the funding for the referendum, the $24 million, was to do 3 small issuance bonds. We did one immediately after the referendum passed in 2021, in 2022, and then right away the next January in 2023, and we are back now in 2024 to take the last 4.75 million and issue those bonds. So Brian is here to kind of tell you what the market looks like and explain the resolution.
Thank you. Good evening. So as David introduced, this is the final component of the plan. As you recall, we laid out a multi-step process to try and maximize the opportunity to lock in low interest rates, the lowest available, using all the different tax laws. And then we saved a portion for this year in order to make sure the scope of work is what it was planned to be. And it helped us to benefit the first $19,250,000 because we split those into 2 different borrowings, taking advantage of some tax rules. Those financings were both locked in well below the referendum estimates. And as I'll show you here today, the plan was to pay off this final $4,750,000 faster than the other debt issues. Partially because we knew there was a chance rates would go higher, and they did go higher, but fortunately they also came back down. So as I work my way through, we'll talk about that and what that will offer you to finish out the financing. So if we can go ahead to the next 2, please. So this is that interest rate chart that I've shown for many, many years when I've visited the board. The bottom chart is just a daily municipal bond trend, index, and it shows where it's been for the last 30 years. The upper right part of this chart is what I want you to focus on. We locked in the long-term, the first $19,250,000 at the left side of that chart. So as rates were coming down, if you recall, kind of right around the November referendum date, rates started reducing in 22, and we took advantage of it in January of 23. Locked those in, rates held for a few more months, and then in the summer they started to climb as inflation information came out and Federal Reserve evaluated and commented on it. It looked like the Federal Reserve was going to need to continue raising rates because inflation was continuing. And so rates moved higher accordingly all the way through October. And then the beginning of November, some of the newest information showed that it was slowing, and the commentary changed at the Federal Reserve as well, where they were actually saying, in fact, we may not need to go up. At minimum, we're going to hold where we are, and we're seeing some things that potentially in 24 we may have to actually start reducing rates again. So the market reacted to that pretty swiftly, which is what you're seeing on the far right of that chart. So the way to read that is that while rates did run higher throughout the end of 23, we are back at borrowing rates that are similar to where you were when you locked in the first 2 phases, or phase 3 and phase 4 of the financing. So it's outstanding news, and if you look at it on a long-term trend, historically speaking, you're still near the lowest borrowing environment for this major investment in the school campus. So you're locking in, minimizing the financing portion of what's going to be repaid over the 20 years via the tax levy. So if we flip to the next page, please. So we talked about this along the way, but the goals, as a reminder, was to not increase the mill rate for debt. we were trying to minimize the total interest cost. We were trying to minimize the interest rate risk, which is why we were paying it off quicker on this final phase. And then we were trying to maximize the investment earnings. I can safely say that that's what we've achieved for this district, taking advantage of what the market has offered. You've had kind of the best of both worlds, and as we just visited the site, you've also gotten the benefit of a moderate winter as well, so the building cycle was accelerated too. So a lot of things are going right for the project. So we will, as part of this process, we'll go get the district a credit rating assessment again. Our expectation is that you'll maintain your A1 credit rating. And then the action tonight would set forth parameters to lock in the final phase and have the president and clerk sign off once the paperwork is finalized in the coming weeks. So let's flip to the next page. So this is the illustration, the detailed illustration, and there's a couple things I want to highlight, and I've highlighted them to draw attention. So the first part is that far right column, the mill rate trend, and so the mill rate is dropping, but that's because the second from the right column, we're maintaining that debt levy at about $1,750,000, and so the plan of this principal in next year in 2025 is to keep that at $1,750,000 to pay off as much principal as we can. But we've always built in a drop and then leveling out the payments at about $1,670,000. So it's about an $80,000 drop that builds some cushion for future planning that you may need to do with your operational referendum as that comes up for renewal and discussion. So we're trying to plan ahead, taking advantage of how much lower the interest cost was from what we communicated. Currently, this plan, as it's laid out, is about $2.5 million under the interest cost estimate that we used in the pre-referendum communication prior to the vote. So we're trying to use that strategically to not only pay off the principal quicker, but also position the district to have some choices as to how you levy for debt and then how you levy for operational in future budgets. So with that as the goal, instead of using, the plan has always called for using 2044 as the final payment year. Instead of using that right now, what we're doing is we're putting the principal that is targeted for that final year in the 10th year. And what that allows you to do is lower the interest cost, because if you recall from our conversations, each year that rates go out, the interest rate goes up. And so by shortening it to a 10-year maturity, in the current market, we're able to shave about 0.5% off of the borrowing rate. And so what we're doing is we're taking that savings and we're paying off more principal in year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so that leaves about $1.5 million that the leadership team and the board will manage as you set each of your future levies. So in other years, you've had the opportunity to levy and still maintain the debt target, debt mill rate target. If you can do that in a few of these coming years, you can just pay off that a portion of that $1.5 million and never borrow the interest cost long term. Once we get into years 7, 8, 9, leading up to year 10, we'll continue to monitor that interest rate environment. And if there's a balance remaining, we'll look at how long and how much we need to rework that final payment. So in effect, we're trying to keep the rate low to accelerate the principal repayment and give the board choices in future budget development. So you may ask the question, well, what is it? What's the trade-off? Like, if let's say we can't prepay any of it and we have to do a refinancing in the 10th year, how much more can rates be? Like, what's the break even of this strategy versus locking it in 20 years? So we looked at because you're paying off more principal, that increases that break even rate, and it's over 7% for that final 10 years. And if you look at that historical borrowing trend, we actually, we haven't seen 7% in even the early part of that chart. I don't think hit 7. So there is cushion there, but we will also be managing it along the way. So I just wanted you to know we looked at all avenues of this. It's not just a set it and forget it type of a plan. So any questions on the detail or the strategy? Ultimately, again, you'll see in year 11 through 20, there's also another step down to about $1,620,000, let's call it. So that we'll use that for either additional principal repayment or interest costs if needed in those years.
Now, you had said that, you'll be keeping an eye on it, through the 10 years and stuff that way. If something were to drastically change in year 3, 4, we're all right then to make the change then to
Yes.
lock in? And
Yeah, so there'll be a redemption provision built into this.
Okay.
And so, yes, it doesn't need to be year 7, 8, or 9. It was more, I was saying that conceptually it gives us more time
Right.
to monitor and
Right.
manage what we can do with it.
Right.
And keep in mind that $2.5 million we've already avoided in interest cost. Like that orange column, David, you remember? I think that was topping out at like $1,800,000, $1,900,000 in the original estimates and the pre-referendum estimates. So the fact we're leveling out in the $1,700,000 to $1,600,000 is
Right.
also cushion.
Right.
Also, very favorable that we're able to do this.
I would just stress again, with those savings that we've had and the conversations we've had, that place where you see that pink area start, building in that drop is exactly when our new operational referendum would come through, which we know we could talk about that all the time. I mean, we don't operate without that $900,000 a year right now. What exactly that number will be, I don't know, but that we have structured that intentionally to help manage whatever that number is at that point in time. So there's been, there's been a lot of thought and put into this strategy. Like you said, that was going to increase. We've seen those increases. We've seen the years that we've been able to prepay. I see over the 10-year period with that changing, us being able to continue to do that and whittle away at that 1.5, get a good chunk of that, so then that we are only worrying about, restructuring a part of that debt. And I think that with one of the huge benefits of the relationship with Baird is they are helping us monitor that too and saying, hey, it's time to act. If that's in year 3 or if that's in year 5 or in year 9, they're going to help us position us as they have throughout this whole process. So that's been a great partnership throughout.
And to that end, that's what we're doing pre this referendum too, like paying down the existing prior referendum and managing it, refinancing it when it was able within the movement in interest rates. I mean, that's part of our ongoing partnership with the district, is to present ideas to you and say, here's the opportunity, and then, see how that fits within the overall district plan from there.
I think it's similar to what we talked about, even just with how well things were managed the first half. We wouldn't even be here today if we hadn't paid off as early as we did before. So the fact that we're actually getting these facilities now versus 3, 4, 5 years down the road, I think shows how necessary it is to look at these. So thank you.
You're welcome. I agree, and you're welcome. Avoiding the continued inflation cost of the construction itself was a big win. Locking it in, and then your financing is going to hover around, either it's going to be a 4 or a high 3 something, all in blended average. When we were using a 4.75 as the planning rate, in October rates had gotten as high as over 5. So the timing of all of this is working very well to minimize the cost of what is a major investment in the facilities, but you're minimizing the cost as much as you can within, the different components. So with that, the next page is a sample timeline. Tonight is the discussion and then the action on the parameters. Then David, Angie, and I will work on the rating process and the paperwork, getting things ready to send the bonds out or the notes out into the market and get orders back. That'll, depending on the timeline of everything, it'll either be late January or early February. And then ultimately we'll have that available for review by the president and clerk. And then the closing would be after March 1, somewhere in there. We have March 5th in here, but that's when the funds will be received into the project account, and then they can be invested based on the spending schedule for the remainder of the project. So the last page just highlights the not to exceed amounts for the parameters. This is what's in that resolution. So it's not to exceed the $4,750,000, delegating to the president and clerk, not to exceed the true interest cost rate of a 4.5. As I showed earlier, currently we're under a 4. So that should be a good cushion, but who knows? Who knows as the market changes every week, right? Repaid over 25 through 34, and then each of the maturity amounts can be increased or decreased by about $475.
So, any questions for Brian?
You going to stay working till 2044 when this all comes done?
I hope not. but I am training lots of people that will.
Because you've done a very good job
Yes.
for us.
We were just talking about, I was here for some of the
You get to be
05
here
projects and the early part of the elementary, was that the library renovations? Yeah, so I'm like, that's not old, that's prior.
Thank you, Brian. Safe drive back home. We will take action on this later in the agenda. Brian's going to take off, so if there's any other questions, please ask them now, but otherwise it should be a pretty easy motion at that point in time.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for coming for the tour, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
It was fun to see. So
Thank
have a good
you.
evening. We'll see
Thank
later.
you.
Take care.
All right, moving on to the board president's report, PLCs at work. So we have administration and staff that are attending the PLCs at Work conference in Minneapolis during this coming summer, June 10th through the 12th. Each year, we like to take a board member. If anyone's interested, they should let David know.
David, I am interested.
Do, so
Oh, okay. I won't argue.
We'll
I won't fight.
arm wrestle. We'll figure it out.
Oh, my
But
God, she'll
it's-
beat me hands down on that.
I think we should take
There's no
bets right now
competition.
that could go towards the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, building and grounds projects. We need to televise it. So,
right,
no.
thank you.
You guys, if you talk about that.
You guys
that's
can
good.
talk about
Yep.
it, yeah.
We'll happily take both of you.
I recommend for someone to go. I'm happy to hear people are interested because it's really good. Gives you a really overall perspective. So thank you for your willingness. April school board election update. So Tina Matheson will represent Rockland unopposed. Lisa Horstman is at large unopposed. And Jessica Munson has completed paperwork and will run to represent the village of Bangor, and she will also run unopposed. Any questions? Committee reports, we do not have any this evening. Moving on to financial documents.
Yeah, those are there. Angie and I did not receive any email questions or anything. If there are any, I'd try to answer them, but otherwise we'd look for approval of the financials.
I'll move to approve the January financials, including Fund 21, general account, and the January 24 financial report as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Joni, seconded by Shelley to approve the financial documents. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. District reports, facility projects updates.
Yeah, we had an opportunity to walk and talk a little bit, and you guys got a chance to see the elementary edition again today. So I'll make this pretty brief for the community. We have primer on all of the classrooms, so all 10 of the classrooms inside are primed. Door frames are painted. Tomorrow there'll be finished paint going on those 10 classrooms and the IT room as well. So those become a pretty high priority. As soon as that paint is on, we'll be able to start putting the HVAC units in each one of those rooms. Cabinetry is coming next week to begin going in the classrooms. Ceiling grid will be shortly there behind, so we can start adding all those pieces in. It's coming together really, really quickly. Hallways, probably about halfway, one coat of mud on everything, and they'll be working through finishing the drywall in those. We should be getting the rest of the glass in the next couple weeks. I know the real cold weather next week will slow folks down just a little bit, but all in all, things are going really, really well over there. Still a couple of electrical components that we have delivery dates on, but we'll believe them when we see them coming from out of country for like the switch gear and some of those types of things. Those are the only things that we have any worries about. They should, even with some cushion, be just fine, and we'll be in that building on time in April. So that's exciting. The middle school, high school, if you take a peek outside or out back or drive by the interstate, the screen wall that kind of separates and kind of allows us to have some stuff back there and keep the back of the school looking nice is up. The forms will come off that in the next couple days. Definitely bigger than what we thought it was going to be on paper, but it will be awesome to just kind of have that separation back there around the tech ed room. The back wall of the new auto area is complete. Walked through that tonight, and it's just pretty cool to stand in there and kind of get a sense of what that feels like. And then they're starting the second section of masonry, so they kind of do that in phases where they build all their scaffolding, tent it all, where they can work in the heated area. So when they get done with this section, they'll have one more scaffold build, and they'll be able to complete that. The intention there is that as soon as the steel is done out front, they'll be able to move around and put the steel on the back. As the board is well aware, the steel has been a little bit of a circus, I'll use that word, on getting in. We really anticipated that happening over Christmas break with the crane and everything working there. There were some components, some special bolts that come out of a factory in Canada that were not with the original shipment. They were supposed to be here yesterday. Apparently they left Chicago yesterday morning and made it to Boston, and we thought we were in business. And then they went back to Chicago, and then they left Chicago again and got here today. So they have those. So we do expect steel to start going up on that on the weight room addition tomorrow. So that should be pretty exciting. And again, the hope will be as soon as the steel is on there, the deck is on there, the roofers can start sealing that up. We can get the concrete poured inside. But as soon as the steel's on the crane and those steel guys will move to the back and be able to start sealing that up as well. So there is definitely a sense of urgency. I know they're planning on working Saturday this week to get steel on because they're feeling that sense of urgency. The conversation was once it's heated, once it's enclosed, they're really going to be able to make some time though. So they're feeling good all in all about the timeline, just delayed getting going here. So we're holding them to that. We've got the dates that the weight room equipment is coming, and we intend to have that up and ready for sectional track at the end of the school year. So we can have that front of the building looking nice for us. So that's the plan. Any questions or anything on construction, anything else that's going on? Obviously, we're going to talk about the GMP, and we had a meeting last night on the activity center, the final bids and everything on that and getting that rolling. So we'll hit that slightly more in a couple of items. All right. Thank you.
All right, now moving on to district action agenda. So the first one is the resolution establishing the parameters. Any further discussion about that?
This is just exactly what Brian just discussed for us. So we'd look for a motion to approve the resolution establishing the parameters of the sale not to exceed $4.75 million general application promissory note.
So moved.
I'll second.
Who so moved?
Joni.
Joni? Motion made by Joni, seconded by Shelley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Activity Center, Nexus GMP
Yep.
amendment. David?
Yeah, so we went through this last night in the board study session, had a chance to really kind of understand all of the numbers that are going into the project. As we've known and as we've talked about for multiple months now, we were running really good overall total project. So we did plan more for the activity center with the full roof replacement. We planned for the full HVAC replacement in that building and a little bit of additional square footage. With those things, we are definitely over the original, the original 1.5 million that we had kind of earmarked for that building. That's possible because of the way that the other two projects ran and, taking advantage of some of the interest earnings that Brian alluded to. We've borrowed low and made interest high, and that's been very advantageous for us. So we are looking for the approval of the GMP that will complete out, the $24 million, project and the GMP for the elementary school would be $3,614,416. The list of vendors or the list of contractors, the companies, is listed there with the breakdown of the costs. And then there's, if you add all those up, it's not that exact amount because there is nexus fees and things built into that and contingency dollars built into that.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment of the GMP with Nexus Solutions with the additional costs added for the activity center of $3,614,416.
Second.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Additional switches purchase?
Yeah, as you know, we were able to purchase a number of the new switches, which has been part of the tech plan for about 10 years and lined up well with us redoing, as we've worked through the construction. The original switch purchase that has been approved that we paid for with ESSER dollars, we calculated how many we needed before the referendum work occurred. So we have new additions with additional spaces that need to be, additional devices that need to be plugged in, additional cameras, more than we had originally had, those types of things. So we end up being 2 switches short. So this is just purchasing those so that we are completely set and have all of the switches that we need. So this has been studied with Skyward and John's here if you have any questions on that. But looking for the approval of those at approximately $9,500.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 new switches from Skyward at a cost of $9,592.94.
Second.
Motion by Lisa, seconded by Joni. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Open enrollment caps.
As you know, January every year by statute, we need to have a conversation about open enrollment caps. Administrative team spent a lot of time kind of discussing this, kind of figuring out what it is, where we should set some of those caps and numbers moving forward. One of the things I think is important to note, kindergarten, first and second grade, we tweaked those numbers a little bit from what we have done in the past. And the reason we did that is we moved them from 20 to 18. That's giving us a little bit lower target, at which point we start having some more in-depth conversations. With going from 3 sections to 2 sections, we don't want to overburden a class. So it gives us the ability to have that conversation a little bit sooner as we're planning. Doesn't necessarily mean that we absolutely can't accept up to 20, but it's going to cause us to have those conversations earlier. And I think that's been just kind of a general concern from a few folks that our open enrollments may be taking away from some of our resident students. So I think by lowering those a little bit, you'll see there's still plenty of spaces available in those grades. But if we do get to those caps, we're going to have those conversations a little bit earlier about what that looks like. So as it as it shows right now, 4th and 5th grade would basically be closed for next year on these numbers, depending on how things shake out between there. And the middle school, high school is running pretty well. I think when we've looked at numbers, Rick has shared that the middle school will be down a few students from this year. High school will be up a few students from this year.
Correct. We started this year with 336 total, and our numbers as of yesterday going into next year be 339. So it's similar numbers, but there'll be a few. We're dropping a few at the middle school. Bigger classes going up. You can see 52 will be going into 9th grade and only 40 coming in. But then Mike's going to send us up some bigger classes, which is good after that. Yeah. We appreciate that.
Then the special education part is important there, and we do feel we've got some room in special education in general, but you will see that we still do have our speech and language closed. K-12 or pre-K-12, the speech and language is closed. We did have some really good conversations about adaptive PE and kind of really went in depth in general on all of these numbers. But what we're presenting here as we reviewed with the state is just that point that when we start getting open enrollment applications, this is the document we look back to for next year on the starting point. So we check to see if our projections were accurate, and this is the document that we can look back to throughout the year. So those numbers may open up, with the exception of speech and language. We don't anticipate opening. So, looking for approval, of these numbers as is. Happy to have some other conversation. I know Tina specifically had asked me for a little bit more data. I started pulling a lot of that today on the open enrollment trends over time. We are trending up with the number of students in. We're also trending up with the number of students out. So the overall change over a 10-year period does not look that significant in what I'm looking at. But I'm going to get that data, and I'll put it together in a way and share it with the board so that you guys can see all that moving forward. Regardless of that, the administrative conversations we have, this is our recommendation for the caps for next year.
My request came from that mainly because 3rd and 5th are 2 sections and 2 to K are 3 sections. So if you're taking 3 sections at 18, if you're at max, you're coming up already over the 50 that you want for your 2. That doesn't include any move-ins or changes. So open enrollment is really great both ways. Like, you always want new students, but then you also have to be ready to grow those class sizes or create another class size. So you have to be ready for that change. If you have 3 class sizes and you're at 18, you probably have a little bit more leeway when you have 2 kids because you have 3 classrooms. You get 4 kids, now you're putting 2 kids in 1 classroom. So I just think it is really important to have the conversation of class sizes, especially at those ages. With movement, 25 I think is high for 3 to 5. And we had 20 before and 25. It wasn't a big deal because we've never really hit those big numbers. But if we start hitting those big numbers and we keep getting open enrollments and they enroll once and are approved and they're here, then those are our numbers and we have to. So I guess my question was, if we cut back on K to 2, why wouldn't you cut back on 3 to 5? Because those are your max numbers of what you want in your classroom, right? Or what is your max classroom size? I don't know.
So I think that the answer on that, Tina, is 50 would be that number where you really start having that serious conversation about a bubble classroom. And now with the new facility, we have that facility available to us. So if we come in at honestly, it's 18 is an open enrollment number. We would go above that too if we needed to, hopefully sticking around 20. But if we have a class of 60 coming into 3rd grade, we would have a 3rd class already set up prior. We would know that was coming.
These are open enrollment numbers, not classroom numbers.
Right.
That's deceiving when you look at this list. Because when I look at this list, as 25 in a classroom, not 25 open enrollments.
If you look at the top of the document, class sizes and limits for open enrollment applications. So that's where they're limiting the open enrollment size. that's when we have the conversations about whether or not it goes.
So 25, I just think 25 is high. I think 25 is high to start having that conversation. If you cut 20 down to 18, so you have 18 coming in, but I still think that
Right now, you're showing fourth and fifth, though, that don't have room. There's 11 spots in third grade for next year. You know, before you even get to that.
But last year,
yeah.
had we, right, like we would have been already over saying.
I would say that the trend is we see it coming. We know those numbers. If you look at the trends over time, when they come in 4K, that cohort size is a pretty good indication. Kindergarten is a pretty good indication of where it's going to go to first, second, third, fourth. We have time to see that coming. And to Mike's point, we now have the facility. If we need that bubble class, we'll have the facility to be able to go to that bubble class. Right now, with the numbers that we're seeing there, we're not foreseeing that bubble class in the next multiple years.
And I think that's what it is. I just like to see the numbers in front of me because we have open enrollments, but we don't know what grades they're going into, and we don't know our class sizes. So historically, I wanted to see our class sizes and how they have grown in the last 10 years. Just because we always talk about the addition or our improvements of classrooms because we're going to grow, but then we need to, this is going to be a huge part of our growth and how
we grow.
Yes.
Understand. And like I said, I will give you guys a little bit more information on that. Like I do think it's a change over time. For most circumstances, we have the time to look at that and plan for it. We don't have, huge influxes in third grade, fourth grade. We'll have a little bit of an influx at sixth grade when they transition to the middle school. And sometimes I'm seeing a little bit of influx at the freshman year where somebody's making that transition kind of at the grade level. But during the middle of elementary school, you don't usually see that. That cohort kind of stays together. So we see it coming and we can plan for it. And we've got the facilities to plan for it for the future.
Any other questions?
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the open enrollment caps and capacities as attached.
Second.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Joni. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Second reading of the new policies.
Yeah, this is the policies, the three different policies that we brought to you last month for the first reading, 5505, 7540, and 8700. Just looking for the approval and final reading. So academic honesty, the artificial intelligence, and the nursing mothers were the three policies that are included.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of the new board policies 5505, 7540, and 8700 as reviewed by the Policy Review Committee, and the first reading approved at the December meeting.
Second.
Motion by Lori, seconded by Tina. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personnel, none. Administrative reports. Mr. Chaplin, you can start us out.
Thanks, Julie. So I have on there Child Development Day and 4K registration. So the 4K teachers, Mrs. Coe, the speech and language person, and Tara Blount and I have all started the beginning process of Child Development Day. So we are bound by IDEA to do child find activities to find 3-year-olds that would have disabilities or potential to have disabilities. And the Child Development Day is one of those activities facilities that we use for that. And so we'll have screening set up. Paperwork will be going out soon for those families. So if you know anyone that has a 3-year-old that we may not have on our list, that would let any of us know, and that goes for anyone in the public as well. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, things like that, they could let us know, make sure we don't miss anybody. And parents can sign up for screenings, and they can come in and do developmental things. We hopefully going to have hearing and vision screenings as well. So that will be open to any 3-year-olds and any 4K eligible kids that may have not had anything and parents are concerned about. 4K registration, so kids that are going to be going into 4K next year, registration stuff will be sent out for that as well. And I know Mike's going to be a part of that as well. So.
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Julie. Just an interesting note on Josh's comment there. I sent out an email yesterday, 2 days ago, on just to hold a date for this event, and 5 4Kers got called in that we were not aware of just in 2 days. So, yeah, it is a difficult process trying to keep a grab on how many little ones, because they're not always, obviously they're not always part of our current school district. So exciting stuff there. So maybe you saw the banner, the U.S. News and World Report banner that went up on outside of the elementary school. I think the overwhelming response to that was very positive in our community. A lot of comments, a lot of pride there. Certainly from not only the staff and students in our building, but the parents of our community. So there's a picture mine's attached. You got to open it. It doesn't just open on its own, but there's a picture of some of our students who, before break, made some Christmas cookies. So they were working on measurement and all that kind of stuff, decorating that, having a good time. And something that our students have really wanted to do throughout the course of this construction project is give back to the workers that are making this school a beautiful place. And so they were able to do that. And quite, the construction workers are really funny when they get to this point, because they're not getting this opportunity a lot, like never. So they are really, it's an awkward interaction. It's pretty funny, and on both sides in a way. So we've done this a few times where our kids have done different projects and presented the workers. So Nicholas, he calls the whole group be down in the front of the school, and they're kind of just standing there waiting a little bit, and all of a sudden the kids come out. It's pretty awesome to see. And I know that the workers really appreciate it. I know that they are doing a good work for, not that they wouldn't anyway, but I think that they're taking an extra sense of pride in the work that they're doing. And you can see it's turning out really well. Just a quick summer school staffing, put that out here this week, and getting some response to what that's going to, or to what staffing are interested in doing. Still a long way to go on that, but I just thought I'd say, we put that out there and we're getting ready to go. Different things. It's going to be really a different year with over here at the middle high school. But we'll figure that all out. And then maybe some of you saw on Channel 8 that Matt Jacobson was awarded the top-notch teacher for being a guidance counselor. And so anyway, his Hearts project that obviously all of you are aware of is really a feel-good story, and the kids just keep wanting to roll with it and roll with it and roll with it. He was awarded some, Mary Makers gave him $200 to continue supplies for this project. So, it's just a neat thing overall, and the students are driving that. This is what they want to do, and Matt is guiding them through that and doing a really good job. So congratulations to him. Another good publicity for our district.
Tina asked about summer school dates. The 17th
through the 3rd.
The 3rd. 17th of June through the 3rd of July. I think as a rule, our intention moving forward is the last 2 weeks of June, first week of July is what we're going to try to keep.
We decided since the 3rd was on, or the 4th was on a Thursday, not to come back on Friday. So.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? All right, Mr. Mellenberg.
Thank you, Julie. I will attest to what Mike said about the cookies. We had a group that made them for our day of service, and then the workers came, and it was a little interesting because they didn't know what to expect, but they're very thankful, and our kids enjoyed that as well. First thing that I have on my agenda, Sherry Horseman, who was our business education teacher for a number of years, as you know, was awarded by Jostens Yearbook Excellence School Year for the school year of 23. I included the certificates and I included the different categories that they have. We have a banner that will be hanging up that they sent to us to recognize her efforts there. It's not the first time, it's a testament to her. It's not the first time that she's won that award as well. And I am happy to say that she is co-teaching the class this year with our new business ed teacher to make sure that we keep that same standard with our yearbook. So I appreciate Sherry's help on that as well. And it's well deserved. The amount of time that she puts into that and effort and everything is much appreciated. And I think it shows through the amount of sales that we have as well. The other things I inherited, so so the Bangor Athletic Hall of Fame will be inducting 2 new members in February at the banquet, at the fun night. In the coach category, it will be Kevin Kravick, and as an athlete and contributor, Mrs. Lisa Horseman. Congratulations, Lisa and Kevin, both. Both extremely deserving. I'm excited to be there that night and be able to induct them because I think they're great representatives and individuals that will go well on there. And you can see that they'll be acknowledged at home basketball game on February 1st as well, then the Booster Club Fun Night. It says letters have already been sent to individuals, sent letters to previous Hall of Fame members. I'm not sure if that's true. I haven't received one. Shelley? No? Okay. So they may be going out yet in the mail. So.
Does Lisa get 2 plaques? It looks like she's winning in 2 categories.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. And the Booster Club does a great job with that as well. And then our B Club gift giving, I was going to have the students report on that, but I wanted to take a little bit more time. And I put the 2 links for the news stories from News 8000 and Channel 19. They come out each year. I do want to say that that is spearheaded by Mr. Chaplin, and I want to give him credit for that because he gets the students to work to raise the money. He calls the media. He calls ahead to Farm and Fleet. And I would thank them. They give us a 10% discount on everything, and we shop as we go to the hospitals. I'm very thankful that I get to go along. Most of my day is spent giving advice to young kids. It's nice to be able to go do those fun things as well. And just to see how thankful they were at both hospitals is really something. And then they talked with our kids about what they do. I mean, the one lady, like Gunderson said, one of the things she has to do is talk to young kids about, if a grandparent is dying or if a parent or something like that. And anytime they can take something in that we donate, it softens that a little bit, and they do some other things. So it was very touching as well. And so much so that the kids, when we got back, asked if we could do another donation. So it was a great learning experience for them, and then giving back and then finding out how rewarding that is. So we're actually setting up another fundraiser that will be giving. I think this one is for cancer, correct?
So they decided they want to do cancer benefits for kids at both hospitals, and they're raising money. They're doing the 50-50 raffles at the basketball games, and they're going to run a concession night on February 17th, a doubleheader against Melrose Mindoro. So I told them they have to plan it all and do it all. And I would advise them, but they're doing the bulk of the work on this one.
I'm just very, very happy that they want to do that again and want to give back. I think just especially around the holiday season, to find the reward of giving to somebody else, and that they really took it to heart. We've done this for a number of years. I think we started in 2017, and the other groups were great as well. But it's the first time we've had a group say, "Can we do this again?" And it was immediate. So that was nice to see.
Any questions for Mr. Mullenberg? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item. David, you're
Yeah,
good.
well, no, I'll just real quick. My items got chopped off there
I
for
was
some
going to say,
reason.
I don't see your name here.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Just real quick, it is really it's a great day to be a Bangor Cardinal. The emails that have been rolling in with the recognition for the elementary school and just the congratulations and those types of things, to see our kids on the news giving back to the community and wanting to do that more, to see one of our teachers acknowledged as a top-notch teacher. It is just awesome to see all these great things that are going on within the district. So that's exciting. While all that's going on, I did get a letter in the mail too. I'm at the state education convention next week. We have 3 students whose artwork will be displayed in Milwaukee. So Alicia Felch, JC Mitchick, and Barbara Ramon Acosta all have work that will be displayed in Milwaukee. And that's just, it's pretty awesome. It's, Amy sent in, or Miss Olson sent in quite a few pieces, and these were the ones that were selected and that will be displayed down there. So to have 3, it's pretty awesome. So I'll make sure I get a couple pictures and promote that as well. So great to see our kids accelerating in the art worlds as well. And then as I think we've talked about multiple times, board policy, if somebody outside of the school wants to use the school logo, they have to ask. And I just wanted to share the Bangor Burns Fire Department is getting some new equipment and has asked, and I have said yes for them to put our logo and show the school pride on those. And hopefully we get to put some kids behind them and in the near future with some celebrations and stuff as well. So I was honored that the Bangor Burns Fire Department asked, and it will be nice to have the logo out there representing the community as well. So just a heads up on that as well.
David, I will add to the art. We will have some artwork displayed over at the Heider Center in West Salem. Student artwork. Mrs. Olson was taking it over, and then the art over there will be judged, and then I believe a number of pieces will be selected to put down in the Capitol. So we'll find out if any of our students have any displayed down there as well.
Thank you. Great things. Next, removal of items from the consent agenda. The consent agenda tonight is current openings.
Just informational on that. It
Yep.
hasn't changed. So it really
without,
doesn't even have to be acted on.
Any removal items, I ask for approval of the consent agenda.
Just informational, he said.
Yep, it's just
Oh, so we
informational.
don't
It
have
doesn't
to-
even have to be
okay.
acted on.
Oh, it's not changed. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Got it. All right. We will adjourn to closed session. I need a motion and a second, and then we'll do roll call vote.
I'll make a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Lori. Roll call vote. We'll start with Tina.
Aye.
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 We are adjourned to closed session.
Reiterate, like we've done in the past, there'll be no action after the meeting or after the closed session, so we'll end the video
Okay.
portion at this point in time.
All right.
So, thank you.
Thank you.